Good morning, everybody. My name is Gary Parker, and I'm with my colleague Jenny Tomei, who's going to do the presentation this morning. I'll hand over to her shortly. But this presentation is brought to you by Future Communities, which is a non-profit making organization which I chair, based in Southeast London. It's part of a program of health support for women aged over 40. And I'll put the details of the Future Communities website on the chat later. So if you want more information, this presentation will go on YouTube as well. So you'll be able to watch it again. It should probably be on there in about a week's time. And as I said, it's part of a program funded by the National Lottery. So there's a number of other events taking place, mainly in the London borough of Bexley, but we widen it out as well so that other people can get the benefits of webinars like this. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Jenny Tomei, who's going to do the presentation. And if you can introduce yourself as well, Jenny, over to you.
Sure. Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Jenny Tomei. So I'm a nutritional therapist, personal trainer, and I'm also trying to become a counsellor. My specialism though is eating disorders and body image. And today I'm going to be presenting nutrition for the menopause, so looking at hormones as well. Yeah, also been through my own journey of like trying to balance my hormones by reducing stress, looking at my diet. So yeah, excited to be delivering this to you today. I'm just going to share my screen. Yeah, so this is all nutrition based. So any questions that are medical, I'm going to have to sort of refer those. But I do know some specialists, obviously, that work in hormones. So yeah, always happy to refer. So I'm just trying to find out where I do the slide. Hold on. Here we go. Yeah, so today we're going to be looking at menopause and nutrition, so covering all aspects of that and looking at premenopause as well. So we're going to look at, to understand what is the menopause as well, and recognise how the menopause affects women, and to understand obviously general wellbeing issues for women aged 40 plus, strategies on how to manage the issues, looking at certain vitamins and minerals and the roles they play in the menopause, alongside supplements and lifestyle changes that I've recommended. Okay. So what is the perimenopause? So the perimenopause is when you have symptoms of menopause, but your periods obviously have not stopped. Perimenopause ends and you reach menopause when you have not had a period for 12 months. Okay. So once you've gone through 12 consecutive months without a menstrual period, you officially reached your menopause, and the perimenopause period is over. Okay, so both of them can obviously cause symptoms such as anxiety, mood swings. I hear a lot of brain fog, hot flushes, and irregular periods. Okay, so these symptoms can start years before your periods stop and carry on afterwards. Okay, any questions throughout the presentation, you can always ask me. Again, if it's nutrition related, I can answer it. If it's medical, then I will have to refer the questions on. So what are some of the signs of the perimenopause? Hot flushes, okay, vaginal dryness, sleep disturbances, mood changes, and of course, irregular periods. So what is the menopause? So menopause is the natural, so what is the menopause? So this does occur obviously between the ages of 45 and 56 years in most women, okay? I mean, for some women, it can start, a lot earlier. Okay, it's also related to a estrogen deficiency. Okay, that is not associated with a pathological process. Okay, so obviously, when there's a drop in estrogen, some women do experience symptoms of that. Okay, That could be various different symptoms. Anxiety is a big one that I do see. Okay. Menopause can also be caused by treatment for certain conditions, such as endometriosis, cancer, so like chemotherapy, okay, radiation, chronic illness, so like COVID, HIV, AIDS, or other therapies as well. I've seen a lot of people who've had chemo. Obviously, that brings like the early onset of menopause as well. So how does it affect women? So symptoms of the menopause typically start off mild and then increase obviously later on. Again, everyone is really different. Irregular bleeding patterns, changes in period frequency. Okay, so bleeding duration. Okay, symptoms, can vary within different people. Okay, so obviously the first 1 to 2 years is where most people, experience those symptoms. Okay. So what are some of the physical changes? So you're looking at, body temperature, hot flushes like night sweats. Obviously you've got vaginal dryness, changes in skin conditions. Okay. Headaches, muscle and joint pains, difficulty sleeping. So a lot of women do experience insomnia, discomfort during sexual intercourse. Okay, and then obviously weight changes as well. So I hear that weight change is obviously quite a big one for most women. I will, because I'm a PT, so personal trainer, I will go into specific sort of obviously exercises, and weight training is what you should be doing, especially through the menopause. So we'll have a chat about that. So what are the mental health changes? It can cause mood swings such as anxiety and depression, irritability or low mood. Okay, brain fog is one that I hear a lot. So a lot of women do experience brain fog, feelings of loss of self, hopelessness, and demotivation. Okay, obviously these symptoms aren't nice, and I know, having struggled with a few of those myself due to like hormonal issues I've had in the past, I know that I can really empathize with it. It's not a very nice place to be. So really important to be thinking about reaching out to like support systems when you're going through these symptoms, like being able to talk to people, talking to other women that are going through it as well. That can also be really helpful because it is a really hard time for women when they're going through these issues. And just some tips on here. So I was asked to put in a slide on this. So tips on how to deal with brain fog. I've experienced this before. It's not very nice. It can be very frustrating, especially when you're trying to get on with your work and you can't get your brain to work properly. So really important to think about stress management. So like mindfulness to help reduce your stress levels and improve your focus. Looking at hobbies, so getting involved in something active, okay, can be really good. Obviously, cognitive exercises to help train your brain. So doing things like puzzles, memory games, okay, to keep your brain in that sharp way. And then learning new skills, taking up a new hobby, things that stimulate your brain. So enrolling in a course, doing something to help that brain function. And then sometimes, sometimes you just got to have a rest and, take it easy. And days that you're struggling, just don't do too much. Just listen to your body. That's the biggest thing that, I think that we should do more of nowadays. Again, looking at regular exercise, so walking, swimming, cycling, aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. And then strength training. So that's really important for women during the menopause to help maintain their muscle mass and overall health. So I do recommend at least 2 times a week strength training in a gym, lifting weights, to keep your body nice and strong, to look after your bone health, especially when there's been a drop in estrogen as well, because obviously that's really important for our bone health. If your estrogen levels drop, you're more at risk at developing something like osteoporosis, especially if you've got a genetic susceptibility to that. Obviously, incorporating weightlifting, strength and conditioning training, that's going to be really important to help obviously slow down that process and even reverse it as well. So there's evidence for that. And so what about nutrition during both these phases? Okay, so the perimenopause and the menopause. So key things to think about, you've got vitamin D, calcium, C, all your B vitamins and protein intake. Okay. So thinking about a healthy diet, you know, with lots of vitamins and minerals, so lots of variety you're getting in there. Energy intake below your BMR, so that's your basal metabolic rate, does not lead to weight loss in the long term. Oh, sorry, that's just popped up. Just need to see what I put down. Okay, and it's more difficult to maintain on a daily basis. Okay, so basically what I'm saying here is, you know, I see a lot of women who have had a history of dieting and they drop their calories too low. So what the body does is that it tends to hold on to fat rather than obviously use it as energy. So if your calories are too low, you know, your body's not getting enough nutrition and it won't want to lose weight when it's in that state. Your body doesn't like a diet. When it senses deprivation, it's more likely to hold on to fat rather than use it. Okay, what you want to be doing is obviously going to the gym, doing your strength training, keeping your exercise up, and actually eating a good quality diet with no obviously calorie restrictions, so no dieting basically. And if you're having your treats, you know, having those in moderation. Okay, so thinking about the kind of 80-20 rule, so 80% of the foods that we should be eating, you know, 20% of the foods that, you know, we class as things that we don't eat on a regular basis, so things like cakes, biscuits, all those types of things. Okay. So protein and calorie intake. So diets with an energy content of less than 1,200 calories are associated with, of course, a higher risk of micronutrient deficiency. Okay, so this makes sense. The less that you're eating, the less nutrients and vitamins and minerals that your body's going to get. Okay. To maintain or increase fat-free body weight and skeletal muscle mass, your daily protein intake should be between 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram body weight per day. Okay. I mean, for someone who's training quite a lot, so I train quite a lot, I have more than that. I have at least 1.4 grams per kilo of my body weight because I'm training a lot, so I need a lot of protein to help obviously repair my muscles after training. Again, regular exercise, weight training twice a week is recommended. So fluid intake, you know, adequate fluid intake is really important. You're made of 60% water, right? So it helps to transfer all the nutrients and the vitamins and minerals around your body. Okay. Estrogen and progesterone significantly affect not only the cardiovascular system, but also your fluid and electrolyte balance. Okay. During the menopause, hormonal changes obviously affect the first as well, which can result in a significant decrease in fluid intake. So thinking about that. A good way to get in some extra electrolytes, which is what I've started doing, is coconut water, really good. Contains a lot of vitamin C and potassium. So that's another way to kind of get, you know, a bit more electrolytes into your body. Okay. So having a think about ways that you can do that. Okay, so we move on to like dietary fat. Okay. So during obviously the perimenopause and menopause, you're more at risk of cardiovascular disease. Increases because of the decrease in estrogen levels that your body goes through. Okay. Therefore, it's important to obtain a high level of essential fatty acids from your diet. Okay. So what do I mean by fatty acids? So I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids. So looking at EPA and DHA. Okay. Sorry, I can't pronounce those two words there, so they're abbreviated. So they're both really extremely important. So when you go and buy a supplement, you should see EPA and DHA. You should have a good level of EPA and DHA on the supplement. A good high quality fish oil supplement is essential. So I'm not talking about going into Boots. I'm talking about going online, getting a good like quality fish oil, high in EPA, DHA. I'll suggest some suggestions as well of which ones. You can also look at oily fish, so nuts and seeds. Okay, again, looking at a good omega-3 supplement. So yeah, you've got Bear Biology, and that's one that I recommend. It's expensive, but it's good. It's a very high quality supplement. It's really important to think about where they're sourcing the fish oil from as well. And then you've got another company there called Body Bio. That's another fish oil as well, really high quality, good EPA and DHA as well. So good ratio there. You know, and there are vegan, if anyone's vegan, vegetarian here, there are vegan sources of obviously omega-3 supplements that you can take as well. So because these are made from obviously fish. Dietary fats, so saturated fats and trans fats should be replaced with non-tropical vegetable oils. Okay, so when I say a trans fat, that means something that's been cooked quickly. So like when you're frying, you know, you've cooked something really quickly, that can obviously, you know, turn into a trans fat using things like rapeseed oil, canola oil. So you stick to a good quality cold pressed virgin olive oil, or just a really good organic butter. Keep it simple. They're really good to cook with. Okay. So yeah, try to avoid things like, you know, palm oil, rapeseed oil. Think about like anti-inflammatory fats, so like avocado, olive oil, kind of like the Mediterranean diet approach. So looking at dietary fiber now. So increasing your fiber content is really beneficial. You know, it slows down the absorption of carbohydrates, keeps you fuller for longer, helps with sustained energy levels. A dietary intake of 30 to 45 grams per day is recommended. Most people can't tolerate that. Everyone's different. But, you know, you can get your fiber sources from things like rice, whole grains, fruit, vegetables, quinoa, barley. Okay. It's recommended to consume at least 400 grams of vegetables and fruits per day. Okay. Replacing refined grains with whole grains. Okay. High intake of legumes and nuts. So when I talk about legumes, I'm talking about here like lentils, chickpeas, all those types of feed. And then you've got 2 to 3 servings of fish per week, or taking the fish oil or the vegan version as well. Okay, so this is obviously associated with a reduction in the risk of cardiovascular disease. So what are some of the benefits of increasing your fiber intake and getting you to look at that? Oh, let me just have a look at the chat because there's a few in here. Let's have a look. Sorry, I've just seen this. Let's have a little pause and I'll go through a couple of these questions. So, feel bloated after eat, especially. Okay, yeah, that's quite common. It may not be the gluten, it may just be the FODMAPs which are in the feed, which can cause irritation for a lot of people down to their sort of high fructan content, which is a FODMAP. So yeah, you could look at obviously, you know, sweet potato or potatoes, jacket potato, sticking to like brown rice, trying a sourdough bread instead of like your King's Meal, because sourdough is less processed, it's been fermented. So, you know, when you're looking at a feed, you've got to think about how much processing has that feed been through. Try to stick to a really good whole feed diet if you get bloated. I wouldn't be able to recommend feeds that are best for hot flushes because there's no evidence on that at the moment that I've seen. Black cohosh is another one that you could look into, kind of like herbal nutritional supplement. Okay, so question here on pelvic floor exercise after pregnancy. Week call. Yeah, what I say to women, I do work with pre and postnatal clients. So what I say to women is that they need to get their core checked for diastasis, so the separation obviously with their abdomen. So get that checked if you've had a bit of a gap. So it's really important to work on like deep core exercises, like pelvic ones, and then work on your obliques, like things like side planks. So starting off like that. Again, just really working your core, at least, you know, if you're in a good position like 2 or 3 times a week. If there's diastasis, then start off really slowly with like deep pelvic floor exercises to help activate your deep core muscles. So that's really important. Okay, so you're vegetarian. Yeah, so I'm just trying to think what brand. So an algae oil is good for the omega-3. So you need to look at just a vegan, vegetarian source of omega-3. And if you Google that, lots will come up. So an algae oil will be good for you. Okay. So look at some other ones. Yeah, I can put it in the chat after I finish the presentation. Okay. All right. Yeah, avocado oil is really good. So I hope I'm getting to all these. Yeah, avocado is really good. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend to cook with that though. Yeah, hot flashes I will cover, and I talked about black cohosh. So I hope that's answered some of your questions. Any more you want to reply back to what I've said, you can just put that in the chat. But looking at fiber content, so obviously fiber is really important because it has a really positive influence on your gut flora. So 70% of your immune system is within your gut. So you want to think about variety in your diet to feed your gut flora. Okay. Obviously helps with improved blood sugar control as well. Okay. Just one thing, I do see a lot of women who skip meals. So really important to eat regularly throughout the day to balance your blood sugar, because if you end up skipping a meal in the day, or you've let yourself get too hungry by the evening, you just risk overeating basically in the evening. Okay. Your body likes consistency, so consistent eating routine. All right. So the British Dietetic Association recommends the following, okay? So to consume 4 to 5 servings of unsalted nuts and seeds and legumes per week, and try to avoid obviously refined sugars from sweets and cakes and soft drinks. Looking at things like oats, whole grains, so jumbo oats and whole wheat bread or a sourdough, as I mentioned, and looking at legumes because they're excellent sources of fibre as well. Okay, so looking at bone health now. So we're going on to bone health. Of course, osteoporosis is chronic and it's a progressive health condition that affects most women during the menopause. Okay, just some statistics there on like a decrease in bone mineral density, especially in the hip and spine, is where it happens the most. So what I want you to think about for your gym routine is looking at exercises that help support your spine and your hips. So I'm talking about doing deadlifts or like some back work in the gym, some hip work in the gym. So getting, strengthening all around those areas to help reduce any sort of bone reduction if you are at risk of something like osteoporosis, because it can be a genetic thing and it doesn't affect everyone. Adequate intake of vitamin D, so vitamin D3 and calcium. Okay, for vegans, vegetarians in here, kale, green leafy veg, really high in calcium for vegans and vegetarians. But you may want to look at a supplement, okay, because the amount of veg you're going to have to eat in order to get your calcium requirements is going to be really high. So you may want to supplement. Again, the regular exercise and obviously reduce smoking and alcohol. So what's the role of vitamin D? Okay, so today is lovely. It's sunny. So what did I do? Went outside a little bit, got outside, got some vitamin D, like try and get outside as much as possible. Obviously in the summer we're wearing less clothing, go outside, get that vitamin D. Really important to obviously supplement with vitamin D, D3 during the winter months. Okay, so that's really, really important. Eggs are obviously high in vitamin D and mushrooms. Okay, so about 80% of vitamin D is absorbed in the small intestine as well. Okay. I will answer some questions again, don't worry. Okay, so clinical studies have proven that osteoporosis treatments only achieve their effectiveness with adequate vitamin D supplementation. Okay, so if someone's deficient, obviously they're going to have to be on a higher dose. And obviously I check that by doing a vitamin D blood test with a GP or ordering your own one through something called MediChecks. You can do a finger prick. MediChecks are really good. You can test like your vitamin D. It's about £40, I think, for a vitamin D test. Obviously from October to March, you should be taking vitamin D. Okay. This is a really good one that I recommend to a lot of clients because it's D3 with K2, which obviously helps support healthy bones. It's Nutri-Advance, it's liquid, obviously take it under the tongue. It's more bioavailable, so liquid supplements more bioavailable to the body because it's a high quality supplement. And if someone's really deficient, you're going to get someone's levels up pretty quickly with that supplement. So looking at calcium, okay. So the absorption of calcium is obviously influenced by vitamin D, but it can be obviously improved by things like dairy products, adding those in. Obviously, if you're vegan, then you're going to have to supplement or look at higher sources of calcium in the diet, but it's very hard to get adequate, calcium, for a vegan. So for most people, but if they're really careful with their diet, they can do it. But it's just thinking and being mindful, are you getting enough calcium within your diet? Okay. So regular consumption of fish, so a good quality oily fish, so like canned sardines, okay, or like salmon. So wild Alaskan salmon is more preferable, because obviously it's been wild, it's been caught. So the less farmed you can eat, the best. But we can only do our best with that. As I know it's really hard to, for some people to, we know that food's gone up in price, so it's really difficult for some people to have access to really good quality food. But these are just some suggestions that you can go away with and have a think about. So vitamin C, really important for necessary bone formation. So it's really important because it has a big role in collagen formation. Okay. Its absorption is about 80% if the daily energy intake is 100 milligrams per day. The recommended daily intake for vitamin C is 100 milligrams, okay, per day. Some people may require more, especially if they're sick or they've got a cold. But remember, vitamin C is it's really good because it's anti-inflammatory. It can help. It's like an antioxidant, so it helps reduce free radicals within the body. So it can really be useful for someone who's got a high stress job. So looking at things like peppers, currants, citrus fruits, and sauerkraut. That's a fermented food. So those foods are obviously high in vitamin C. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at the chat before I go on to B vitamins. Hair loss. Okay. Oh, that's a tricky question for me to answer because there might be various things happening there that are going on in the background without enough sort of history. I need to keep going on, but I have seen, I know that's a common thing. I'd look at iron as well for hair loss. So looking at your iron levels. So think about it as really important. Yeah, black cohosh, I will get into that. I haven't used it myself. I am not qualified to sort of list the dose, but you could go to a herbalist that could help you if you were interested in using it. It's a herbal medicine, basically. But it has been researched to help a lot of women, the black cohosh. Okay. So you do intermittent fasting. Okay, I wouldn't recommend intermittent fasting for a lot of people, but for some people it does work. It's very good for people with type 2 diabetes as it helps to regulate their insulin levels. So I'd say it depends on the person. If it works for you, it works for you. But I just make sure you're getting in enough calorie intake during the time where you're fasting, because you don't want to be too much in a calorie deficit, because obviously that's not good for the body. Especially not good for menopausal women because we don't want the body to be in that deficit, that too much of a calorie deficit, as your body won't like that. Also, it's just thinking about, is it sustainable for you, like intermittent fasting, like daily life. So it's looking at things that are sustainable going forward for you diet wise. But if it's worked for you, then that's great. It's just about what can you do to help maintain that healthy lifestyle for yourself going forward. Again, incorporating the strength training as well is super important. Is milk recommended during the perimenopause? I wouldn't say it's just recommended on its own. There's a variety of different things that support your bones. It's not just about calcium. There's things like magnesium, glucosamine. There's some really good supplements out there that you can just easily Google on like bone support. It's not just like, yeah, milk's recommended and that's it. It's other things are recommended as well alongside it. Yeah, a multivitamin tablet is good. Just make sure it's got your vitamin D in it and everything else covered in it. Just make sure it's a good quality multivitamin and that you're taking it with food as well. Okay. I mean, resistance band, it's a good start. So for a beginner, if someone's going to me, they have never done training in their life, I'd start them off with resistance bands. But then there's only so much that you can progress with a resistance band, because over time you want to put, your body through a little bit more stress, like by lifting weights, so you can actually build muscle mass. You'd plateau with resistance bands eventually. You could get to a good base level, but then how are you going to progress sort of further? So it would be nice for you to be like, right, I've done my resistance band now, so I'm going to move on to like strength training to help really build some good muscle mass going forward. You'll see quicker results as well when you start weight training. There's only so far that you can go with resistance bands. But I hope that's helped. So yeah, B vitamins. So they play an important role in the menopause. Okay. So they play a role, obviously, in processing carbohydrates and the functioning of the immune system. So when someone's really stressed, they actually go through a lot of B vitamins. So they use a lot of them in their diet. So if someone's got really high stress, I'd be looking at, okay, increase your vitamin C, increase your B vitamins. All right. Okay. Okay, so sources of B vitamins, you've got meat, poultry, fish, eggs, whole grains, legumes, avocados, because they contain B6 and folate. Dairy products, okay, green leafy vegetables, seeds. So trying to get all these foods into your diet, and obviously fortified foods like breakfast foods and things like nutritional yeast. That's high in B12 for vegans and vegetarians over here. So nutritional yeast is a really good sort of one to add in. So what about sleep in the menopause? Okay, obviously, really plays an important role in the metabolic process. Okay, sleep deprivation obviously affects our energy intake, glucose uptake, and leptin resistance. Okay, so sleep rhythms, cardiac. So sleep rhythms obviously and patterns affect our appetite, nutrient absorption, and our metabolism. So really important to think about: am I getting enough sleep? Is it good quality sleep? Okay, do I have a routine before I go to bed, like a sleep routine? Because some people do struggle with a lot of anxiety because they're worried they're not sleeping enough. So it's thinking about what can I put in place before I go to bed to help alleviate the anxiety that I'm going through. Meditation's a good one. So you could think about meditation apps or listening to music, which is really good. So melatonin, obviously needed for our sleep. So obviously foods containing melatonin can directly affect our sleep. Okay, adequate amounts of tryptophan, which is found in protein-rich foods, because that's the precursor to your melatonin. All right. Vitamins and trace elements participating as cofactors in melatonin. Okay, so looking at folic acid, B vitamins, B12, magnesium, and zinc. Okay, so they're the precursors to obviously produce your melatonin. Okay, adequate intakes of these foods and vitamins and minerals are essential for good sleep. Obviously, balanced diet, really important. These are meals containing sufficient protein, carbohydrates, and fats, essential for that good quality sleep. Massive scientific evidence of the role of omega-3 fatty acids, okay, which can positively influence the regulation of serotonin secretion. So serotonin, what is that? It's a neurotransmitter. It's kind of like your happy hormone, okay? It's produced in the gut, okay? Helps regulate things like appetite, digestion, okay? I could do a whole presentation on that, but I don't have time today. But just so you have, an understanding of what that actually is. Obviously, getting outside, being in the sun, exercise can all help with your serotonin levels. Again, eating regularly obviously plays a really important role, as I've expressed throughout that today. Obviously, not eating too little, not overeating. Okay. Looking at your sleep patterns, how's that? It's recommended to have dinner at least 2 hours before bed. Obviously, drinking a lot of night, not recommended, because you might end up getting quite a lot and getting up at night, sorry, to go to the toilet. So if you think about regular eating patterns to help regulate your blood sugar levels, because someone who's had a history of dieting or they're under eating, that can actually increase your stress hormones within the body, so your cortisol, which can obviously make symptoms worse, especially hormonal symptoms. So you want to think about, adequate nutrition for your body, fueling your body for what it needs throughout your daily life, will help to obviously reduce cortisol levels, as dieting, under eating can increase that. So just talking about the tryptophan that I spoke about in order to help you see, just some sources. So it's a protein, so you're looking at fish, eggs, soy, tofu, shellfish, algae, vegans, vegetarians. Okay, so seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, yeast, so the nutritional yeast that I spoke about, because that contains high levels of tryptophan and B12. Source of melatonin, you've got meat, fish, eggs, nuts, cherries. Okay, I'm sure you've seen that, little cherry pots being sold as well, and strawberries. Okay, let me answer a few. I'll just do a summary and we'll answer a few more questions. So this is a summary taken from PubMed. So these are medical journals online. So you can take a picture of this, just a nice little summary of what I've explained to you today. So thinking about your protein intake, are you getting enough? Calcium, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin B. Looking at your omega-3 fatty acids, vegetables 300 to 400 grams per day. Okay. 3 to 4 and then fruits 1 to 2 portion a day. Looking at your legumes, so beans, peas, lentils, chickpeas. Okay, low fat dairy sources, red meat. Okay, if you eat red meat once a week is fine. Obviously, line caught fish if you can. 30 grams of unsalted nuts. Okay, 30 to 45 grams of fiber. And then try to avoid, obviously, the following below: simple fast-acting sugars from sweets, cakes, and biscuits. Again, everything in moderation. Smoking, sugary, alcoholic beverages. Again, try and be as active as you can. It's not just about going to the gym every day. This is about, okay, I'll take the stairs instead of taking the lift. Try and think about ways that you can add more activity into your life. Walking out with friends, taking the stairs, parking your car a little bit further away somewhere, walking a little bit further. So just little things that you can do. Obviously looking at salt intake and saturated fat intake. So just a nice little summary there. Okay, so how are you going to deal with stress? So stress is a big thing for a lot of people. So ashwagandha is really good. It's an adaptogen. So it's herbal. So ashwagandha extract. The small trials have been carried out on people as it helps to reduce things like depression and your cortisol levels, so your stress hormone. I take it as it helps to regulate my body a little bit more, so I take it on a daily basis. Yeah, so because obviously I naturally have high cortisol levels, you can test your cortisol levels as well. You can do it with a GP, or you can do it through saliva testing. So you can kind of see what your cortisol levels are like throughout the day. Okay, and you can test that at a lab that I've sort of used. They're called Genova Diagnostics. And I've had to work on my own sort of cortisol levels throughout the years because they were naturally very high. So I do take stuff like ashwagandha to help support that, to help balance my body a little bit, because I'm someone that can kind of thrive off that, adrenaline and that cortisol environment. So yeah, small trials have been done that it helps to regulate your stress levels. Okay, obviously things like meditation, getting your body into a relaxed state, is obviously way more beneficial than taking a supplement. Okay, so thinking about how are you factoring rest into your life, or what do you do to de-stress as well. Agnus cactus, okay, also known as chaste tree berry. Okay, that's a herbal remedy as well. I'm sure we've all heard of that. Okay, you can take it in tincture form or supplement form. That's had a lot of research actually to help alleviate symptoms of the menopause. Okay, it's been known to help balance hormones, particularly your progesterone levels. Okay, so it can help alleviate things like hot flushes, night sweats, and mood swings. Okay, it can also help to reduce breast pain and tenderness, which are often symptoms during the menopause. So yeah, look that up. I've taken it before. It's pretty good. I definitely noticed a reduction in my own sort of hormonal symptoms that I had. But everyone's very different. But this one is very research based. There's a lot of research about this supplement on PubMed. Okay, just be careful with stuff that you see out there that's advertised. Always think, okay, how many people was that supplement trialed on? Is there research to back that up? Because everything I'm giving you here is obviously scientific and backed up through PubMed. Okay. Some studies have suggested that Agnus cactus can improve mood and sleep quality as well. Obviously, a lot of women do choose HRT. Okay. There are different versions of HRT. Don't know if any of you heard of like bioidentical hormones. So that's looking at the gel, so the estradiol, the gel, and then you got something like utrogestin, which is a natural form of progesterone made of yam. So that's kind of like the bioidentical hormones, which a lot of women opt for when they take HRT. Or you can have the patch as well, or obviously taking tablets. So everyone is really different. Of course, try and speak to a gynecologist or a hormonal expert. GPs, should do that referral for you. They should refer you to a gynecologist, a hormonal specialist that knows what they're talking about, and make sure they give you options as well, of the best approach, because this, it is a very hard time that women are going through and we go through. So you want obviously the best treatment that's going to work for you as well. Okay, so Agnus cactus, so what does it do? So it works on the pituitary gland, which is your HPA axis. Okay, so it helps, obviously that's where your hormones are transmitted from, helps to regulate your hormonal production and balance basically, and normalizes your hormonal levels. The only problem with this is that you have to take it for quite a while in order to obviously see results. And that's the thing with natural medicine or natural supplements. It does take a while for the body to adjust to it, okay, and get used to it. I'll just have a look at the chat, guys. Hold on. That's okay. It depends on what supplements you're talking about if you're on a HRT patch. Yeah, if you could, let me know what supplements you're taking. Best time to take your supplements, just have them in the morning with feed. If you're taking a probiotic, have it in the morning with feed. Always in the morning with feed. Okay. Yep, algae. I wouldn't say it's available from all supermarkets. You'd have to Google that because it's a vegan supplement. Obviously for the omega-3 alternative. But once I exit out of the screen, what I'll do is I can put in the chat a link to a good source of omega-3 for you for vegans. What do you recommend for UTI? Colloidal silver. I mean, that's the natural one. So colloidal silver, you could have a look into that. That's the natural, have a look into it. The natural way of getting rid of a UTI instead of obviously taking antibiotics, which disrupts your gut flora. But if you do take antibiotics, just make sure you're having a probiotic with it, or cherries, so like cherry juice. No, sorry, cranberries, not cherry. Cranberry juice for UTI. There's research on those two things, cranberry juice and colloidal silver. I haven't touched on colloidal silver today because that's another topic, but you could have a little look into that. It's a natural, that's a natural one to take for a UTI, but obviously mainstream is antibiotics. But if you go down the antibiotic route, just make sure you're taking a really good quality probiotic. Optibac are really good as well for probiotic. Then given estrogen gel. Okay. I'd always, if things are not working, really good to go back to, having worked with a hormonal specialist, you've got to keep that communication going and work with someone. Also, monitoring your levels as well, like having a blood test, really important to monitor like what's going on with your levels through blood testing, which you should get via your GP, or you can go down the private route when you're monitoring levels. Again, just make sure you're liaising with your gynecologist, your hormonal specialist that you're working with. Okay. Would you recommend monitoring your own blood glucose? Okay. I'll put in the chat a really good podcast for you that we did on this, because obviously I had a lot of questions because I work a lot with eating disorders, obviously, right? So I didn't recommend to use blood glucose monitors for someone who has an eating disorder, because that is obviously feeds into their obsession around foods. Oh, I can't eat that because it spiked my blood sugar. Again, the spiral continues. But my colleague Becky Stone, she was on and she spoke about her journey with menopause, and we spoke about the links between that and ADHD. So that was a big topic that came up. So I'll put that in the chat, because she actually found it useful. I recommended her not not Zoe, something else different, just because you can actually buy a glucose monitor for half the price and just look up your glucose levels through this app. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do this. It's very simple. Like, this technology has been out for quite a while, so I would say for her it was really helpful, because she found that before her period was coming, her blood sugar dropped really low. And so she had to obviously eat way more food to lead up towards her period. So for her, it was really helpful, because she was going through a lot of fluctuations with her blood sugar. And it turns out she just wasn't, the diet wasn't adequate enough, and she wasn't eating the right things at the right time. So for her, it really helped her. So I would say, if you haven't had a previous history of an eating disorder, or you tend to have obsessive traits, only use it for 2 weeks. That's it. And then don't use it anymore, because you don't need it. So I'd use it as like an experiment, just to kind of see like what's going on if you think that that's going on. But you could also work with your GP as well on it. Some people do work, we've said it in the podcast, with health professionals when they're going through this process. So yeah, but obviously, if you're okay with doing it by yourself, then fine. But only use it for a short period of time, because that's all you need it for, just to kind of work out what's going on with your blood sugar levels. But I'll put the podcast in the chat for you to have a listen to, because yeah, there's some good discussions around it as well. I'll just go back to, sorry, that's just some references here. I'll go back, and there's just my contact details, my website. I'll put them in the chat if you have any questions, you want to ask me anything. Yeah, let's stop the share and open up for questions. And what I'll do is I'll put in the chat the podcast, and I hope you all enjoyed that, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Jenny, for that very detailed presentation. If anybody's got any questions for Jenny, please ask.
Yeah, you can unmute, guys. I'll just put this podcast in. That's a podcast. We do speak about, eating disorders and how blood glucose monitors are triggering for people with eating disorders. But we go into the science around sometimes using a monitor doesn't tell you at all, due to the food that you're eating and how it works in the body. So have a listen to that. Okay. And then the algae, hold on. Supplement. So let's have a look. Bare Biology do them actually. They're expensive. I mean, you can look elsewhere, but here's the vegan source for omega-3. I just use Bare Biology because they're such high quality, and I'm quite big on quality, but there are other ones that you can use. Use. There's Vivo Life. There's this one as well. And there's my other website about the non-profit that I do as well, if you want to have a look. Yeah, just one more question here. Okay, so some weeks of the months where you feel ravenous. Okay. Do you notice that's okay? Is that around? Sorry, I don't know if you're obviously, is that, I don't know if you're in menopause or premenopause or period. So normally women do get really ravenous like the lead up toward their period. So from a nutrition perspective, you need to think about building your carbohydrates to the lead up toward your period to help build progesterone. Okay, so some women obviously go low on their carbohydrates before their period. So, and that's the opposite of what we should be doing. We should be building on carbohydrates to obviously help build progesterone, which will help with if you're feeling like really hungry, if that's happening, if you're obviously feeling really hungry. But it sounds like to me, and looking at blood sugar regulation in your diet and looking, are you having enough protein, carbohydrates, and fats? And when you don't feel hungry at all, okay, that's fine. What else is going on? Are you stressed? Are you anxious? Or, so yeah, I hope that's helped. Obviously, if you still have your periods, then it can be linked to that. Okay. So yeah, I hope that's helped. And some days, I think that some days it's okay to like be really, really hungry and then the next day not. Maybe your body just needed more on that day, so you feed it and give it what it needs. That's okay. Maybe the next day it doesn't need as much. We are not a perfect calorie machine. We won't eat the same calories like every day. It's okay to eat more on the Wednesday and then less on the Friday. That's fine. Our body goes up and down all the time. So hope that's helped. And yeah, there's the supplements in there and the other bits. Okay.
I do have a question, if that's okay.
Oh.
So with neurodiversity, for example, women who might have ADHD and then who are going through menopause, I think because a group of friends and I, we used to talk about that. And sometimes we find that it's sort of really, it's really exaggerated because we already suffer from like maybe anxiety or some depression or, and then obviously going through menopause, it's, then you have the brain fog and maybe you might already suffer from low working memory, like short-term memory and things. It just seems like everything is all compounded, if you know what I mean.
So you think there's a link, yeah?
Yeah, I do think there is a link, or how can we sort of manage that? Because it's almost like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had any experience of dealing with that.
Yeah. So I mean, this is so listen to another podcast that I've done. So I worked with this hormonal expert. She was amazing. She was gynecologist, like GP, and she had a massive emphasis on functional medicine. So she looks at the person as a whole. So with me, I was diagnosed ADHD, didn't rest, so I didn't know how to rest. On the go all the time, very high cortisol levels, training a lot, obviously history of eating disorder. That was my sort of background. So she took, and then she came on the podcast, and I'll put it in the chat again. But we don't talk about the menopause as such. We talk about the links between ADHD and PMDD and PMS, and there is a link. So I asked her this question in the podcast, and she said there is a link. Yes, but this is all new. This is new research. So there definitely is, and you're right that people with ADHD do experience fluctuations in their hormones, more so than the average person without ADHD. So yeah, there is definitely a link. this is all new. I mean, if you want to listen to the podcast that she explains about it, by all means, if you go on the Spotify one, you'll see it's the one that we've just recently, it's the top one that we've just recently put out about hormonal health matters, insights from Dr. Raked on eating disorders, ADHD, PMDD, and PMS. So have a little look at that and see what you think. And she's really good. I worked with her for a very long time, and most of mine was looking at lifestyle changes and working on my mindset most of all, and trying to factor more rest into my day and not be on the go all the time. So I hope that's helped. Yeah, it's on.
Thank you.
No worries, but yeah, this is all new. So yeah, it's on iTunes as well. The podcast. So you just go on iTunes and search Donut Podcast. Yeah, or it's on my website as well, actually. So yeah, because you might find it helpful to have a listen to that. And she's like, you know, if you ever want to listen to someone who knows their stuff, it's her. She's a specialist expert, GP. Yeah, she's really good. I'll put it here. She's helped me massively. So if you have a look there, it will take you to the podcast. And you've got a button for listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. Any other questions, guys, before we finish?
Sorry, just if I could quickly ask about the supplements. I think this is you're probably going to help resolve a husband and wife sort of query. I always say take your supplements in the morning. Hubby always says take them at night, and
Okay.
they're never quite sure. So when is a good time to, you know, take your handful of supplements?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't tell someone if it depends on what you're taking as well. So if someone's taking the magnesium glycinate, which is for sleep, then you take it at night.
Of course, yeah. That
So
makes
if
sense.
someone's taking a magnesium citrate, which is for more energy, then you take it in the morning. But
I mean,
anything else,
it tends to
pretty much
be
take.
vitamins, you know, like a good multivitamin, all your Bs, your Ds.
Have that in the morning, because if you take B vitamins, that's energy. You don't want to be having
Okay.
that at night. So take that in the
Okay.
morning.
Right. Okay. So mornings are better
Yeah, because it's
in
B
general.
vitamin. They
Yeah.
provide, you give your body energy. You don't
Super.
want that energy at night. So have it
Yeah.
in the morning.
Lovely. Thank you.
No worries.
So just on the supplement side, because the nurse gave me there's a B, I think 12, but she said that was good for sleep. So I take that at night.
Okay, B12.
Yes,
Okay, who said that was good for sleep?
the nurse.
Okay. Okay.
So I tend to take that at night.
Okay. Okay. I'd say B12 is more for energy, personally. But a magnesium glycinate, if you look that up, that's been research based to help with sleep.
Yeah, I take that as well. I feel like I'm taking 15 tablets. Is there anyone that you would recommend, or any multivitamin that has maybe a lot of these things in them so that my pill box isn't bursting?
Yeah, no, I know it's hard to. So you just want a good multivitamin, really?
Yes, please.
I mean, Terra Nova are quite good. I have to have a look. Let's just have a little look for you. Because there's so many that I know. Let's have a little look. Yeah, it's difficult to get like one that combines like with everything. So it's just let's have a little look. I mean, if you look up Terra Nova Living Multivitamin, I can put it in the chat. It's a women's one. Hold on. I'm not sure if it has, you might have to have a little look, but I'm not sure if it has everything that you're taking. But have a little look and have a little look at that brand anyway, because they're normally pretty good. So yeah. and see what you think. I know it's hard to get everything sort of combined in one, so I do understand that.
Thank you.
That's all right. Just have a look at that brand in general and what they offer. So
Sorry, would the magnesium glycosate be helpful for children children, teenagers? She's 13. Would that be helpful for her to consider? She has autism as well, probably ADHD, although we haven't got a formal diagnosis. But she
yeah,
really struggles to fall asleep. We've been through the routine. We sort of know blue light beforehand. We've tried just about everything,
yeah.
but would the magnesium glycosate be helpful?
Yeah, magnesium glycinate is good for sleep. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, glycinate.
Yeah, magnesium
Okay,
glycinate. Yeah.
okay, I'll have a look. Thank you.
Yeah, have a little look. You want to think about magnesium as calming. So if someone's ADHD, they need like calm. So, looking at things like that. So which is good.
Yeah, we've tried the magnesium spray, but no, that just makes the room smell weird and doesn't really
yeah,
help.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, and
Yeah.
also looking at, it's very well taking a supplement. It's looking at what's happening before her sleep. Is it anxiety based? Like, why they're not sleeping properly, what's going on, looking at lifestyle factors. So yeah, as well. Yeah, it's quite complex sleep. Anyway, I hope that's helped. Any other questions, guys, you can always just email me.
Okay, thank you, Jenny, for today's presentation. I'd like to say I've learnt something as well, even though for obvious reasons it's not necessarily something that affects me, but affects people that I know. So thank you very much for all that useful information, particularly around vitamins and other supplements. This is part of a program. This will be on the Future Communities YouTube channel in due course if you want to catch it again. And I put the Future Communities contact details. It's part of a wider program we are running. Some of it is activity based in and around the London Borough of Bexley. All the support on the program is free. Jenny's given her details. She's involved in projects elsewhere. I don't know whether there's any opportunities or whether you could refer people on for further support, Jenny, if they contact you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, my website's in the chat, or you can just email me. I think I put my website in there. Yeah, the website was jenup.com. That's my main one. And then my email is this one. But if you do need links to hormonal specialists, obviously I know a few. The woman that I worked with, she was really good. She is expensive, but you get what you pay for with her. So yeah, I can only help support from a nutrition perspective and sort of lifestyle. So when it comes to more like looking at medical stuff, I'd say gynecologist, hormonal specialist. Yeah, and yeah, looking at your cortisol levels as well, salivary cortisol levels. If your cortisol levels are high, bringing that down is going to help with everything. So as we know, stress affects a lot of things in our life. So if you can reduce your stress levels 9 times out of 10, that's going to help with the other symptoms. So
Okay, thank you very much for that. Jenny may well return a bit later in the year for further session. So thank you all for attending today, and please watch our view our website and other social media, and of course keep in touch with us and keep in touch with Jenny as well. Thank you for your presentation today.
no
See you
problem.
all soon.